Hi everybody, Andy Zimney here at Employee Strategies, where we partner with leaders to develop highly effective cultures. And I want to talk a little bit about culture and what that means. Sometimes I'll explain it with a story. There's an old story about two fish who are swimming along one morning having some great morning conversation until at some point some older, wiser fish swims by, leans over to the other two fish and says, "Morning boys, how's the water today?" Fish swims on her way, and the other two fish keep swimming along until one leans over to the other and says, "What's water?" Right? It's a mediocre joke, but I think it's a pretty good analogy for what culture is. Culture is invisible to most of us. The fish aren't thinking about the water. Most of us aren't aware of the culture, the water around us, but it affects everything that we do. So when we're trying to develop a more effective culture, one of the first things we need to do is define what is our current culture. What does our water look like? And one of the tools that we'll use to do that comes out of Team Coaching International. They've got this great model describing 4 different team cultures. And it's built on a premise of 2 primary dimensions that every team needs. One is productivity. How productive is your team? How effective are they at getting things done? Every team exists to get something done. The other dimension is positivity. This doesn't necessarily mean that we're positive and happy all the time, but it does describe how effective we are, how healthy we are at working with each other in a positive way. How good is our communication? How do we deal with communication, conflict, etc.? So often when we're starting a conversation with a team, we'll ask them to think about which of these quadrants do they spend most of their time in. Let's talk about what each of these is right now, starting down here in the bottom right in the red quadrant. This is our high productivity but low positivity quadrant. All right, it's a very results-oriented culture. Everything's focused on the numbers and the end results, not too focused on the people. This is the coffees for closers quadrant, right? Can be very effective in the short term, but can be really difficult to sustain long-term success in this culture. There's often a high degree of burnout. People are exhausted. It can be a tough place to stay for long periods of time. If we go kitty corner from the red quadrant, up here we've got our high positivity, low productivity teams. All right, these are the teams that have long lunches. They do happy hour every Friday. Everyone really enjoys each other. They get along great, but they're not getting a whole lot done. It can be great for the people, not so great for the business, and of course, not a good long-term strategy either. So that's our green high positivity, low productivity quadrant. Down here in the bottom, the brown quadrant, this is the worst of the worst. This is our low productivity, low positivity quadrant. Think Michael Scott in The Office. Everybody's miserable and we're not getting anything done. And then, of course, the promised land, the ideal, the blue quadrant here, high productivity, high positivity. There's a natural tension between productivity and positivity, but they really support each other as well. This is where most teams want to be most of the time, but only 10% of teams actually spend the majority of their time there. Most teams will spend time in each of these 4 quadrants. Maybe even in the course of the day, it may bounce around these 4 quadrants. But we tend to spend most of our time somewhere on this map. So my question for you is, where do you spend most of your time? Where does your team live? What's its water? The clearer you can get about your starting place, the clearer you can be about the path forward. So encourage you to use this tool with your team to have some conversation. Of course, we can help with that conversation if you'd like. We can't get clear on where we're going until we get clear on where we're starting from. So if you want to be as effective, as positive, as productive a team as possible, start a great conversation. We wish you the best of luck in developing as effective, as meaningful, as impactful as a team as you possibly can. We'll talk to you next time. Thanks.